Rug Island is the place of kids' imagination, and represents childhood. Adults can visit it, but they have to learn to be kids again, and they can never really live there. So for the album, I wanted these little voyages into Rug Island, to take you to the kids' imagination and the games they make up. We had a mix of adult choir and kids choir, which takes over as you emerge into the world of Rug Island. This was a really fun one. I was inspired by Stevie Wonder tracks, like Sir Duke, where there's a big breakdown with the horn section and the band all playing in unison. I wanted to take that to the obstacle course with ups and downs, and weaves in and out, a bit like an obstacle course. Imagine the kids playing, jumping and falling. The track features Joe Roberts, a baritone saxophonist, who starts the theme off on every episode as well. I'm a real big fan of this Australian band called King Stingray, and they're big fans of Bluey. So while they were on tour, passing through Brisbane, aka home of Bluey, they came to the studio and we jammed on Octopus. They added their own style to it, and we found the balance between Bluey and King Stingray. This track was a bit of a wild card, because it wasn't a track that anyone would think to be on the album. I like it because it really captures a sort of quintessential Bluey sound that we get in the music. Also, there's a great line from Rusty, "I can't be dealing with witches," which made me laugh so much that I just had to put it in. I think it brings the album back to the Bluey sound we all know. This was really fun to do because the episode is so much about the kids' imagination. I wanted to have this real handmade feel for the track, so there's a broken banjo and a toy piano that we found on the street. Hopefully it feels like people are making the track out of pots and pans and things around the house. Onesies is really about sisters, reconnecting and coming back together. We have a celebratory brass moment in the middle when Chili and Brandy are dancing. It's such a special, emotional episode. I really love this one because we got to dust off all these old 80s synths to make a quintessentially 80s track. I was really inspired by movies like The Never-Ending Story and E.T., with their sweeping melodies. It's one of my favorites. As a child, one of my favorite pieces of music was the Bar Bar theme, and I wanted to capture that feel, a very warm sound. The track eases us into the next voyage to Rug Island, as if it's bringing us into the next lot of games that are on the B-side of the album. Bluey composer, Steve Peach, and I used traditional sea shanty instruments, and even put a sea shanty in the middle of the track, called Jackie Tar. That was probably the most fun we recording it. When we finished the track, we added all these sailory things, yo-ho-hos, out-of-tune wails, tin whistles, accordions, to make it feel like a sea shanty. I wanted to feel loose and punk, just like Muffin. So instead of a vocalist, I'm screaming into a kazoo, and I'm a terrible guitarist, but I'm playing the guitar, and it's just enough sloppiness and out of time that it feels messy and free, just like Muffin. Turtle Boy might be my favorite episode, and the music is very simple. Sometimes that's hard for me, because I always want to add so much stuff and make it super complicated and detailed, but here I was able to have a bit of restraint and made something very simple and sweet. The Bin Night episode is about cycles and rounds, so I wanted the music to have the sense of cycles. I also wanted to take a really domestic situation, taking the bins out, to a really sublime thing, bigger than just taking the bins out. We spent a lot of time on this one. It was tricky to get right, but we wanted to celebrate the small moments. Cricket was the standout episode from season 3. Composer Pluto Jones sent me a little ukulele tune, and I was like, we've got to use that. It was such a catchy tune, like it could be played in a stadium, but also played small too. Everyone who played on the Rug Island album features on that track at the end. It became a big celebration, such a good episode. It hits me every time. I really have to tip my hat to Pluto Jones for that track. Originally for the Dance Mode album, I felt it fit really well on this album instead. It's a bit more gentle, like the March of Friendship. We had some really great guest vocals from friends old and new, including Tiptoe Giants. It's really a track about friendship. This is the final voyage, leaving Rug Island, if we're following the story of the album. It features friends, some who were really young when we recorded the episode, and brought back for the album. A lot of their voices had grown up too much, so we went back to the original voices, which weren't perfect, but that's what was so charming, innocent, pure and honest about it. It's just like the voyage out of Rug Island, when Chili asks Bandit what the girls gave him, and he says, everything. It was a great way to finish the album.